In a blistering lengthy press conference at the Jubilee Party headquarters, Secretary General Raphael Tuju, flanked with Kieleweke MPs, went all out on Deputy President William Ruto, urging him to stop disrespecting President Uhuru Kenyatta. The latest salvo coming at a time when there is a growing disquiet in the ruling party and central Kenya politically. Good evening and welcome to Pundits Night. I'm Abubakar Abdullahi. As always, your voice matters. So does your opinion count. Talk to us. Send us a message on 22047. The hashtag to use is Pundits Night. Let's get to our discussion. Just a reminder of who our guests tonight. Zack Kinuthia is the Chief Administrative Secretary, the Ministry of Sports. Karungo Thang'wa is the National Organizing Secretary of the Service Party, TSP. Just a disclaimer that we had equally invited Kiambu woman representative Gathoni Wamushomba, who had confirmed her attendance for this show, but it seems as though she has made up her mind not to come. We respect her decision and the show has to continue. Good evening, gentlemen. Thank you for your time tonight.
Thank you. Good evening.
Zack, let me start with you. Observably, what is happening politically in the mountain?
Thank you very much. What is happening in the mountain is metamorphosis that is natural. When a moment of reckoning faces a single community bound by a single garment of destiny. Nothing abnormal at all. And I think for those people who are watching us tonight with my brother here, there should be everything else except tension and despair. There is hope, there is plan, and it shall be executed to the best interest of the sons and daughters of the mountain.
Zack, you say it's normal. The images we saw of yesterday and the day before are not, are they?
Well, it's normal, except that infiltrators have brought abnormal behavior. It is not about the mountain, it's about the infiltrator, not about the mountain. My mother and my auntie and my sister and my niece are all in peace in the mountain, going about their business as usual. And nothing is to be caused. Nothing alarms them, even as this dead night beckons to them. It is the infiltrator. The infiltrator will come during the day and leave by the evening. Mm-hmm. The people he will encounter are the people probably he came with, or people he probably hired for a cause. But remember, if these people who make things to seem like they are not as they have been before, these people are only pretending and lying to the invader. When the invader goes yonder, these people will come back home because the chicken must roost back home.
Zack, you're talking of an infiltrator, an invader, seemingly suggesting as though there is a third party in the politics of Mount Kenya. Who is that?
Yes, the invader is a people who do not reside in the mountain, people who are not of the origin of the mountain, but seem to be taking narratives and controlling narratives in the mountain as if that one is representative of all the people. And that invader is not called one person. It's everybody coming with their agenda to try to influence the peace, the love, the unity, and the purpose for Mount Kenya people. So if the mountain may seem to be shaking, it is not shaking. It is being shaken. It is not shaking. And I think it is important that I put it that way without being sentimental, that the mountain has no problem. It is the problem that is being brought to the mountain. Otherwise, from Gong Hills to Galbatura, from Meru to Aberdare Ranges to Kilimambogo, all our people are at peace, going by their business every single day. Our mothers are doing their business. Our fathers are hunting money. Our brothers and sisters are going to school. And there is absolute peace. One day, one event cannot define the mountain.
All right, and just on the phraseology of your response, that invader is an outsider, presumably?
Yes. He's an outsider.
And I'll ask you who that is politically. Let me bring in the National Organizing Secretary of the Service Party equally to the discussion, Karungo. Is there a rift in the mountain, or is it, as some say, all made up?
Thank you very much, Abubakar, and may I say good evening and also say hello to everybody who is watching us. today, and I would want to set the record straight. We are not brothers with my friend, friend Zack here, because so many people say I've seen you somewhere with your brother and all that, but we come from the mountain.
Sure.
And I believe everybody has the interest of the mountain at heart. I wouldn't want to say there's a rift in the mountain. I think the question should be, whatever is happening now, did it happen in 2013? Did it happen in 2017? Did it even happen in 2002? So if we ask ourselves those questions, then we'll have the answer why it's happening today. Because we have our president who comes from the region, and we voted for him, one love. We voted for him from thin and thick, and we said this is the person to lead this nation. And when we have this discussion today, I will tell you why this discussion is happening now and today. It's because we have realized you can have one of your own but still don't get 100% of what you're expecting. You can have another person from a different area and still not have 100%. So that's what we are saying, and if you are following what was happening today, we have the party leader, who is my party leader for the service party, TSP, Mwangi Kiunjuri, together with the NAK Kenya, Martha Karua, and they started together with Chama cha Kazi leader, that is Moses Kuria. They started this conversation because we realized that if we have one of our own today and things are not as good, what if, I'm just saying, what if we have somebody from the neighborhood? So we have to come together as a mountain and discuss these issues and have a blueprint. Just the way we have a constitution in this country, whereby any president who comes must follow the constitution. So we want any presidential candidate who is coming next to follow the mountain's blueprint. If they do that, we will have no problem. I will not have to care whether the president comes from next door, whether the president comes from, I won't even care if they have to follow what we agree as a people of the mountain. And from whatever has been happening, and I want you to understand this is happening, and with all due respect with my friend here, yes, he's in government, but for the people who are outside the government, we are the one who are hurting more. We are the one who are understanding exactly what the Wanjiku of today is going through. So if we have this discussion with the current government, we have the discussion with those in government, we have the discussion with those who want to form the government next time, then I believe as a mountain, we're going to have a solution.
You talk of solutions, you talk of the problems, and these are not particular problems to that region. One would say there are problems that quite a number of them are cross-cutting the breadth of the country. But given that we have seen politicians each pushing to their end, their side of where the mountain should be, is it a case of the politicians who really have a rift among them, or is it the people equally?
Of course, we do have politicians who want to be in power forever and ever. There are politicians who would want to sway Wanjiku in one direction, using the sympathy card, using the popular card. But there are also leaders who would want to be in power to bring the change. And there are also those leaders who want to bring other leaders to nurture them and make sure that they bring this change. If I can give you an example, for example, China. How did China get rich? If you look way back, 40 years ago, that country didn't even have a highway. They could see a highway in Kenya. They didn't have skyrocketing, what do we call them? Those story buildings. They saw them in Kenya. I mean, if you look at KICC, I think it's the tallest building before China built their structures. But what happened for them to be where they are today is because the leadership that took over, or the leadership that directed China towards where it is today, it was an economical kind of revolution. All right. Not necessarily a revolution for fighting for your rights, for fighting for what you believe in. It was economical revolution. And to be fair, and that's what you're talking about now, that anybody who comes to Mount Kenya must have an exact must follow our blueprint, which is supposed to be economical, because
fair enough. And given that the politics nowadays seems to be centering around economics, we will talk of that. Let me bring Zack back to the discussion. Zack, there are issues that Mount Kenya is grappling with. There are issues the country is grappling with. Sure. But for an outsider observer, this is a region that has produced the first, the third, the fourth president. Yes. There are talks of one of the region's sons vying for the presidency and possibly standing a mathematical chance of being the fifth. Are there genuine complaints from that region?
Yes, there are genuine complaints from the region, as always have been genuine complaints from even the most of developed societies. And let me tell you, if there shall be a fifth president from the mountain, it must not be construed to be luck, cannot be construed to be miracle. It is work in progress that has been strategized and thought by sons and daughters who understand the magic of numbers. And these numbers, unfortunately, is a currency of democracy. The currency of democracy is numbers. The rest can be said, but it's about numbers. The complaints that come from the mountain, as my brother has rightly put, is genuine complaints of empowerment. Can I tell you today that our regional interests are intact? Our regional interests have the same challenges because we are agribusiness people. Our farming products are crying and have been crying of infrastructure to connect them to the supply chain. And this one is infrastructure of roads, rail, and ports. The president who is here negotiated power with his partners in 2013 so that he could deliver the most of urgent of his people's needs. And this is why you can see all over the mountain, if you have moved, that they are cropping roads, that they are connecting rails for the first time. Mount Kenya, after 30 years of no rail, is now using railway from Nanyuki to Nairobi, and from Nairobi to Nakuru, because we asked President Kenyatta to remember his own people by giving them the urgent of needs. When the president has delivered infrastructure, he has not delivered everything. When the president has improved the tea prices and the coffee prices and the milk and the cereals, he has not finished problem, because if problems would come to an end, supposedly life will stop. The next president who will come, the next member of parliament from whichever constituency that will come, the next governor and the next senator and the next women representative, and indeed all the leaders from the county wards like MCAs must improve and progress what has been done already by the President of the Republic of Kenya, who come from our region.
Fair enough, Zack. And you say it shouldn't be construed as though it is a miracle if Kenya's fifth president comes from that region.
Yes.
Everyone from that region and anywhere from the country has a democratic right,
yes,
provided they meet the constitutional requirement.
Yes.
But should it matter to the people of Central of where the next president comes from, given the first was from there, the third was, the fourth is?
Yes, it should not matter, because America has never questioned why Texas produces the president year in, year out. Nobody cares about where the prime minister comes from in the Queensland. Nobody cares where a good leader comes from. Everybody and all we should care about is, as he has said, as Mount Kenya region, the blueprint is clear.
All right.
We know it, our children know it, our leaders know our blueprint, and this is what we are putting on the table. This is what we are trading with the people. If the son or the daughter who will become president of Kenya is a fifth, will be from Mount Kenya, we will hold him or her on the blueprint. If that son or daughter will not be from Mount Kenya, as Mount Kenya people, we will hold him on that blueprint. So, what remains permanent for Mount Kenya people is the interest. It is not the person leading them. It is their interest.
Fair enough.
If the person leading them can cater for those interests, we do not matter and we do not care. If that person, whether it's from the mountain or from without the mountain, and they don't seem to care for this blueprint, then we will tell them, kwaheri sana, kwenda kabisa. We will look for the better person who can champion our interest.
All right, Zack, and there are quite a number of people who are facing the mountain in scrambling for the populace votes. We will talk about them a little bit later into this discussion. Karungo, talking of the numbers, the strength of the population of this region, Zack says it shouldn't matter where the next president comes from, but from the people of central Kenya, at least it will matter if they have someone championing their interest.
Yes.
Like he has said, in America, it doesn't matter because, of course, the people there follow the law to the letter. Of course, the people, their integrity degree is higher than what we have down here. But what I would want to say is that that's what we are looking for. That's what we want from now going forward. We don't want to say our son, this comes from our area, because we have just experienced that you can sleep hungry with your son as the president. You can go without school fees with your son as the president. So what you're trying to cure here now is that, and that's what the Constitution, the framers of the Constitution, that's what they came up with, the communities to manage their own affairs. That is one of the objects of the Constitution. And that's what you're doing, going back from the roots and saying that we come from Mount Kenya. And for us to come from Mount Kenya, and you know, the reason why we are actually discussing with Wanjiku and people from other parties, because we realize that we want to listen to them first before we even come to Jubilee. Of course, the discussion with the Jubilee has started today, but we wanted the Jubilee to be the last one because they're already in government. You cannot discuss with the government of how to help in the next election, because they have been given the mandate to perform today.
Fair enough, Karungo.
What we are saying is that despite whatever is happening, we want to have the right leadership with the right mindset so that our people will be able to have their economic status, will have to have their freedom rights taken care of. Whether I am their senator, whether I am their governor, whether I'm not there or I'm there. So that is the discussion that is there. And I want people to detach themselves from those people who are saying that we are forming a coalition of Mount Kenya region. It's not a coalition. Everybody will have their own party. I am the National Organizing for the Service Party. We will welcome Jubilee, we will welcome UDA, we have welcomed Chama cha Kazi. This started with NARC Kenya and all the other parties. We want to say this is the blueprint for Mount Kenya. Then after we see the blueprint for Mount Kenya, then we forward it to the person who will be leading this country in the next election once he is voted for. So that when they come back for re-election, we will tell them, go to page 1, did you fulfill that? Go to page 2, will you fulfill that? Because as I said earlier, we have realized you can have one your own and have more problem than having a stranger.
And given what we saw from the presser earlier on today by your party leader, NARC Kenya's Martha Karua, and I believe by extension Chama cha Kazi, a stand in which they posit that the region will not have a unification of one party, rather each party has a leeway to go its way but negotiate the interest of the region. Is that not contradictory in the effort of anyone who wants to unite this voting bloc?
It is not contradicting anything, Abubakar, because we are here at TV47. I came from my home, you came from your home, and my friend Zack came from his home. And we are discussing issues and we have to agree by the end of the day, but go back to our own homes. That does not mean we are divided. That does not mean that we cannot talk to each other. It's the same thing when it comes to political parties. What we have realized with one political party called Jubilee, the party I campaigned for, the party that I garnered 178,000 votes, and when I went for independent candidate, I got 250,000 votes. That means this party owes us a lot. But what I'm trying to say is that this party, after doing all that work, we have just realized that we cannot go back to one party. Because if we go to one party, if you make the leader angry, you all suffer. But if you have your small houses, whereby if you see the party leader is angry, you can retreat to and hide yourself for a day before he cools down, then you'll be respected. And I'm giving this example because look who is leading the Senate today. It's a political party that has only 3 senators. That is KANU. How many senators does Jubilee have? They have 34 senators, but they could not even afford one of them to lead the Senate. They had to go for a smaller party that is led by...
That party leads that position, which is the majority leader because of a coalition agreement.
That's the point. Now you have come to my point. Coalition agreement. But you cannot have a coalition without a party. You need a party to have coalitions, and it does not matter how many people you have in that Senate.
We will talk of the fragmentation that some are citing in as far as the political parties are concerned. I understand we need to take a short break here on Pundits Night. Stay with us. This discussion will be back after this break.
You are what? Ability is common in everyone. Those abled differently also have immense ability.
Maybe we are not good in both, but we can be good in life.
They reach beyond the limits in their special, different way.
If the society can just be careful on what they call them and how they refer to them, that would at least be better.
They need to be loved. They have feelings. They would like to give love. It's a natural thing.
Catch their story on Beyond the Limit on TV 47 every Saturday at 7:30 p.m.
The brain does not exactly know how to differentiate physical pain from the psychological.
Nilikuwa na feel nimefeel hata watoi wangu.
This month, our sisters, mothers and friends share their heartfelt stories of the pain and struggles with Joy Irongo.
We are all about being authentic and sharing our lifetime experiences to speak hope and empower a woman who's probably going through a rough patch.
Join us as we unravel the heartache.
So the doctor told me she has only 2 weeks to live.
Mimi nilikaa tu miezi 2 tu nikiwa na furaha kwa ndoa.
Every Saturday at 8:30 p.m.
Are you looking to buy a home, or are you looking to build one?
Welcome back to TV 47. You're watching Pundits Night. We are making sense of the rift in Mount Kenya. Does it exist? Is it a made-up story? Share with us your thoughts on 22047. The hashtag to use is Pundits Night. Zack, we are talking of the political parties from that region ahead of the 2022 general polls. We talked of TSP, na Kenya, Chama cha Kazi. There are those who equally say that Central Kenya is a UDA zone, the United Democratic Alliance, of course, which is aligned to Deputy President William Ruto. Do you view it equally as so?
No, I think people should stop being daydreamers and rubbish. I think you have to allow me to use that term, because when people invade your family and claim to install their cultures and behaviors and interests and aspirations on a family that has its own dignity, it is the greatest insult that can get. So, these claims coming from people about zoning a country, zoning a region in terms of which party is there, I think is wrong. And I want to join my friend here and say, this is how it is, and this is how it shall remain. A people with great stake of a nation's country must negotiate using a single vehicle when they have the highest interest of politics at that time. If that is not forthcoming, they must use the wisdom of putting eggs in different baskets in the event one basket may crash. And I support the caucuses that are coming together to say Mount Kenya people can negotiate using different vehicles. I think politically it is sane. Using the narrative that we can only fit in one vehicle whose driver is not of the interest of the people of Mount Kenya, that would be the greatest tragedy that can happen. And we have seen the dangers of behemoths. we as Mount Kenya people fought from 1984 so that we could open the space to ensure that this monolith infrastructure that was ruling the country then called Kano did not lock out people who were the best suited to lead their people, because the party leader did not want them that time. We fought for the expansion of the space by repealing Section 2A so that we could allow multipartyism in Kenya. We cannot take that sweat to the drain. It is important that we, my brother here and I, fairly around the same age set, we cannot reverse the gains that were made by our forefathers who fought for expanded space. And this is why I must say it here on national TV. Mount Kenya have before used a single party to drive one of them in power. If nobody from Mount Kenya will be contesting for presidency in a serious scale, I advise my people not to board a single vehicle. There should be as many vehicles as possible, which does not affect the outcome of the presidential vote. We can use many parties and support one person by saying, here, this is what we say, here, let us determine. That is the language. Here, allow us to determine our own. There, we can go with you. But that you, that we shall drive using our different vehicles, must be a person of utmost integrity, must be a person with proven track record, and must be a person with history of romantic engagements with the interests of Mount Kenya people. Not people who are
Zack, you will equally understand the critics of those who point fingers at these parties from central Kenya. And in favor, they say UDA is more of a national party. That's why it is part of the negotiations that are currently going on.
How is it a national party when 2 members of parliament come from Mount Kenya? Who are serving using that party as one of the people opined.
But it's being fashioned as though it is.
How is it a regional party? Rather, how is it a national party when all its energy are being driven in 2 regions? Where is it in coast? Where is it in northeastern? Where is it in eastern? Where is it? Please.
Abubakar,
all right, Karungo.
I think that when we go back to the law and we look at how political parties get registered, there's no way the Office of the Registration of Political Parties can register a regional party or a party for one gender or a party for youth only. So I believe all political parties are national parties. But they are national, but of course charity begins at home. So you have to know where you started, because every political party, by the time you register, there's an initiative. So who initiated that kind of registration? For example, the Service Party, the initiator is former CS Mwangi Kionjori, coming from Mount Kenya region. So you cannot say that you're so national that you forget where you come from, because charity begins at home. So I would want to say that and I'm really happy to hear Mr. CAS here saying that we should have more political parties, you know, coming from a Jubilee party that had collapsed so many parties. They have realized you cannot rule this nation with only one single party. Because if you have regional parties or parties that are led by regional leaders, then believe you me, you'll be respected. Today, His Excellency the President, Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta, had a meeting with political parties leaders in Mombasa. He had Wetangula, he had Oparanya, who is the deputy for ODM, he had Raila Odinga, he had Fokanu, that is Gideon Moi. And I always say that I had more votes than him. But what I'm trying to say, when it comes to the senatorial seat, yes,
it's a matter of fact.
It's a matter of fact. I had more votes than Gideon Moi, and yet he is being shaped to lead this nation. And this small guy from the village is not. So what I'm trying to say is that
your time is coming.
Yeah, it is coming.
Go ahead.
What I'm trying to say is the president himself had a sitting with the party leaders. But those party leaders, nobody from Mount Kenya region. It was just him alone. We can see the president.
Karungo, is it not because if he is to call party leaders from central Kenya, he will have more numbers than the other members who are from the entire country?
No, not really.
He is to call you a party leader, he is to call na Kenya's Martha Karua, Chama cha Kazi. Mwangi wa Iria has a new party. We're talking of PNU from Kiraitu Murungi, if I am not wrong.
No.
Those are 5-6
To be realistic, some political parties have no party leaders. They have chairmen. Okay, that's even when you talk about my good friend Moses Kuria, Chama cha Kazi, he's in Jubilee. You cannot say he's the political party leader of Chama cha Kazi. He's working towards that. If you look at Mwangi wa Iria from Murang'a, he's the governor under the Jubilee leadership.
Ticket, yeah.
Jubilee ticket. We cannot say he's the party leader, but you have those who are outright party leaders. Martha Karua is a party leader. Mwangi Kijori is a party leader. Tell me who is a party leader for DP? Munyao. Okay? But some political parties are just waiting for that date so that people can resign and get into those political parties. But if the president wanted to bring all the political parties together, he should have called even those that are outright known, they are political party leaders. But we are not worried about that because our work is to consolidate our membership and the base when it comes to the party leadership. But what I'm trying to say is, assume Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta is not the president today. Assume we have another president in office, whom, if he was to call such a meeting, who was to be invited in that meeting? I mean, if not political party leaders from Mount Kenya, and if you look even to the eastern side of this country, we have Ngilu, Nak, we have Mutua, Chapchap, we have another governor, Wiper, that is Kinuthia Kibwana, though he moved. But what I'm trying to say is, those are three governors from different political parties, and that's why Ukambani people are respected. That's why Western people are respected, because they even have governors and senators from different parties.
So you will prefer the same? You will prefer the same for Central Kenya?
Come to Central Kenya. We would want the same.
All right.
Right now, no governor in Central Kenya can speak. You speak today. You saw Waiguru yesterday, claiming that after changing her mind, the files have already been dusted by EACC. So what you're trying to say is, give people a chance.
All right.
To have their own political parties so that you can be respected. Otherwise, if you belong to a party where your boss will wake up and change their mind every morning, every 10 o'clock, every 5 p.m., then you will be demoralized, you'll be frustrated.
All right, Zack, we have lately seen high-ranking politicians face the mountain in Kotindat region ahead of the 2022 polls. ODM leader Raila Odinga has made several visits to the region. Deputy President, equally the same, the latest being this weekend. We equally saw ANC's Musalia Mudavadi. Surely the numbers are of interest to any politician who wants to be the president of the country.
Yes.
But it seems equally as though the region is open to anyone.
Yes.
It has not yet decided, has it?
I told you that a damsel must be courted by all suitors. This time, Mount Kenya being the damsel, with a clear leader who is negotiating on its behalf in the person of President Uhuru Kenyatta, and a bride who seemingly by now, because a day in politics could be thousands of years, seemingly by now, this bride has no interest whatsoever of refusing courtship, because there is no intended man or suitor whom the bride is waiting for. All these people coming to Mount Kenya, you said Honorable Raila Odinga, former Prime Minister, Honorable Vice President Kalonzo Musyoka, Honorable Vice President Musalia Mudavadi, Muhisa Kitui, Fred Matiang'i, and such people who are coming to look for votes in Mount Kenya for president. These people are coming because there is a golden pill in the mountain in the name of numbers, the votes. From Meru all the way to Nakuru, to Laikipia, to Murang'a, to Kirinyaga, Kiambu, to Nyeri. All this vote-rich region called Mount Kenya is being quoted because of its strength in numbers. Remember, before everything else is done, these are 6 million votes as of 2017 in one basket. Anybody coming to this person must come with a bigger vision, must come with a bigger heart, must come with extraordinary negotiation skill to be allowed. This is like saying you have 20 goats. You are going to ask for a bride whose father has 100,000 goats, herds of sheep, kettles, and bulls. Where do you begin? That you want a daughter whose father is so well endowed with what you are bringing that he doesn't need you, but you have to court her. This is a story of Mount Kenya, that suitors who are coming are facing a richer father, a more endowed father, whose daughter must go into marriage. But how to surrender this daughter to a man who has lesser than what the father needs is a question that is of $1 million to these people. But what are we saying? My brother and I, because we are sons of the mountain, we are saying the mountain is open. Please let the sons come. Our daughter, as of now, because I told you it will not be a miracle if the fifth will also be a Kikuyu. But I'm saying, if it is not, those who are coming must come through the main door, and the main door is President Uhuru Kenyatta.
All right.
And must bring a
Zach, let me interject you at that point.
Strategy.
One person who has wanted to court this region, still wants and has been very public about it, is the Deputy President William Ruto, who was in that region this weekend, saying he has been a friend to that region for the last 8 years, now moving to 9, and he will be 10 years friend to the region when his term as the Deputy President lapses. So will President Uhuru Kenyatta's term of 10 years. He's a front runner, isn't he?
Well, I've heard so.
Yes, of course he is.
I have heard
you have heard so. I don't know for a fact.
I have heard he's a front runner. I haven't made statistical empirical data to suggest so, but I've heard it. All
right, Karungo, you say he is.
Of course he is, and I'm really happy to hear the analogies given by my friend here, but I would want to ask you a question. If you want to marry that beautiful girl they are talking about, would you want to go ask her directly, or would you want to ask the first husband? If you're really interested, would you go to ask her directly to find out, to know her, to understand, or you would ask the first husband? Of course, you would ask her directly. You would ask her directly.
Yes.
So that's what we're saying.
But you'll not marry her.
No. That's what
asking is not marrying.
That's what we're saying. We don't have to go through anybody today, and that's why we are calling everybody to come and give their views and give their proposals, so that when we are presenting it, because we have presidential candidates who are coming on board. We have Ruto, Raila, and Mudavadi. I hear also Mwangi wa Iria. You know, you give them the blueprint so that you put them accountable when they're coming for another re-election, because you can only put the person accountable for the next re-election. But because you cannot when
just on that analogy, if this is a region that has a political leader in the name of the president of the country who happens to be from that region, you say there is no need of going through the president?
I think so for now. If I was the president of this republic, I would just stay the way everything is at the moment. Just let everybody just do what they have to do. Because it's not that we are really happy with the leadership of today. And I'm saying that because whatever is happening now never happened during Kibaki's time. We never had the coalition of political parties in the region saying that we are going to have Uhuru, let's Uhuru have the blueprint. Because we knew what Kibaki has done, Uhuru will come and continue, and we have no problem. But then we realized, and I don't want to blame the president alone, I'm blaming the whole Jubilee government. Because the Jubilee
of which
government,
he heads, isn't it?
Yes, the Jubilee government. Because if they really led us so well, nobody will be questioning. We'll be going to Ishaweri or be going to the State House and shout at the gate, whom do you want to be the president in the next election? Right. When he says whoever, we'll say okay. But today we have just realized you can have one of your own and suffer. That is the situation.
Senator, I agree with you.
All right.
By the way, I like the way the Senator said something important here. And I'll call him Senator because 200,000 votes is not a joke. Yes. 200,000 people came to him.
I was elected. I was not sworn in.
Let me call him.
Now there was another winner to say
Senator began by a very important point, that if you are coming from a region, you must first accept that you are a son of that region. If God would lift you to a national position, you are not denied of bragging rights of where you come from. The president is the head of state. He caters for the interest of Somali people, of Kamba people, of Luo people, of Luya people, of Ogiek people, of his own people, the Kikuyu people, the mountain people. Nothing stops him from advocating for the rights of the people who call him our son, and who are bound by the same garment of ethnicity. There's a problem when we start saying, oh, and I had that during the first time, oh, the president should not even speak Kikuyu, oh, the president should not even meet delegations from Mount Kenya, oh, the president should not even take development to his own people, those things are political naivete statements coming from the enemies of the mountain as that time 2014, 15, 16, who faulted him. Let me say this, the president is the region's spokesman. Just as the people who are coming to the mountain are the spokesmen of their region. Being a spokesman is not an elected position. So it doesn't mean that you have been accepted by all the people of that region, but consensus through interested groups and parties come together to say we are equal among, we are first among equals. But let's choose one for the sake of logic. And that is what we did in 2012. That President Kibaki, who was working with the Prime Minister, Deputy Prime Minister at that time, called Uhuru Kenyatta, realized that the work he had done must be entrusted to somebody who will continue it. Whether that will come from the Mount Kenya or will come outside Mount Kenya, President Kibaki did not matter so much.
But Zack, you will understand the argument. You will understand the argument of
No, let me put it this way before you give me the question. Let me put it, I'm sorry, Abubakar, for cutting you short.
Absolutely.
When we say that President Kenyatta cannot negotiate for Mount Kenya people because his time is up, then we are setting ourselves up for negotiators who have no respect for the homestead. We are saying he is the best person to negotiate because he has no interest. Let's say this, the party leaders like TSP, the best he can become in this country is the president. Party leader for NAC Kenya, the best he can become is a president. Party leader for Wiper, the best he can become is a president. And no other parties, ODM and the rest. But Uhuru Kenyatta cannot become anything else in the political hierarchy. Isn't this the best man to trust for Mount Kenya people to negotiate for these suitors? And this is the question.
Zack, which begs the question I was to ask, and I'm asking now.
Okay.
You will understand Karungo's argument that it's not a must people go through a spokesperson who has, say what, less than a year to go.
Yes.
He is in the lame duck of his presidency.
I agree with him, and I also disagree with the argument, because I cannot disagree with him as a brother. Let me disagree with the argument this way, and I will give an analogy. If I have a beautiful daughter, and of course I have, if you have sons, you can start tendering. If you have a beautiful daughter, it is not a must that suitors must come through the father. It is not. You better go directly to her. But in the day of reckoning, when you hand her over for marriage and trust to that suitor, there cannot be two ways. It is through the father.
But the big question is, Abubakar, when you are negotiating right now, who is the best person to negotiate with? Are we negotiating with the government that is already in power? No, the government is supposed to work for us.
No negotiation with the government.
No negotiation.
That's right.
And that's why I'm even telling the people wherever I go campaign or wherever we meet people, first of all, ask your MP, do not promise me the next government. Work for me today. Work for me now.
Deliver now.
Deliver now. Because if you tell me the next government is going to be better, what makes me believe you that when I elect you the next government, then you'll tell me, I didn't mean this one, I meant the other one.
Shifting the goalposts.
Shifting the goalposts. So what we're trying to say,
and
that's why we are coming up with these parties. Some people call them small parties, regional party, whatever you want to call them. But that's why we are saying, we should, first of all, as our people, negotiate with those people who are coming. And that's why we had said Jubilee should be the last person to negotiate with, because they should be delivering whatever we are asking for now.
Fair enough. And often, Zack, in these discussions of Mount Kenya, there is the question of political debt. Sometime in it to 1963, 2002, 2013 and 2017. First, in your own personal observation, is there a political debt that needs to be repaid by Mount Kenya?
Let me say this, there is no debt in politics. The 250,000 people who voted for Senator Karungo do not owe him any debt. And he does not owe them any debt either. So nobody can wake up one morning and say, you people, I stood with you. Now it's your time to increase your weight for us.
Not even the person who was told kumi yangu, kumi yangu.
No, that's what I'm saying. There are no politics in there's no debts in politics. And this is all over the world. There are no debts of politics. However, as an intellectual, if we are to say there is a debt and that this debt attached to Mount Kenya people, then we must not begin at 2013. We must stretch it to 2002. Then not stop there. Go higher up back and say there was also a debt in 1978. And then we cannot stop there in 1978. We will go further up to 1962, when the first publicly declared debt was that of a man who refused the machinations of the white man and refused to take over government of the black person until another superior man in the political hierarchy had been released from Lokitang prison. And this man was Jomo Kenyatta. Jomo Kenyatta would easily have died in prison and confiscated his life down there had Jaramogi Oginga Odinga refused to accept ascendancy of power. And it is quoted very, very emotionally, 58 years down the line, that hakuna uhuru bila Kenyatta. But what they used to say, the white men and Kado leaders, they used to say, Kenyatta, they used to say, tupate uhuru, tuachilie Kenyatta. Jaramogi said, as a greater part of Kano leadership, tupate Kenyatta, tutaupata uhuru.
All right.
And he said, I am not worthy becoming a leader of the black people, the African black people in Kenya, because we are Pan-Africanist.
Fair enough.
Unless Kenyatta is here. So, if we are to settle debts, Abubakar, and it's important I put it here, do you settle the old debt or the new debt? Economically, in terms of business and the social norms, if I owe Karungo 1,000, and he gave me last month, but I have 2,000 that you gave me 2 years ago, rationally, I should pay you first. That is common sense.
All right.
That I shall pay you first. So if Mount Kenya owes anybody any debt, that debt is not just one single debt. There are about 4 debts, and that debt must be paid sequentially.
And that is suggestive after that glow in history you have attributed to, as though Central has to pay first the Odinga family?
If they have to pay the debt, I have put it on record.
Do they have to pay the debt? I think that's the most pressing question.
Let me say this, yes, they need to pay, okay, you come in. They need to pay Odinga family debt, then pay Moi family debt, then pay Ruto debt. If that is the debt sequence of debt, either you have to.
Karungo?
I think you're sensationalizing, the word is not coming out clearly, but what I'm trying to say, you're becoming romantic about this word for nothing. It's not the debt, it's a promise. And a gentleman or a lady keeps a promise.
Yeah, sure.
So what we are talking about here is a promise that was made in broad daylight. It was done in charge. So if it's up to you whether to keep the promise and then deal with your God later on. But what you're trying to say is, for now, as the Mount Kenya, what we are trying to say is that even if we are promising, we have also to say, promise us 1, 2, 3, 4. And that is what we are discussing.
The blueprint, yes.
So the issue of the presidency, even I have not even discussed that I'm running for senator in Kiambu County. But that time will come. But for now, what we are talking about is, I would want to have a blueprint whereby even the next senator for Kiambu or the other senator for Kiambu, even coming, even after so many years, will be having something to look back and say, this is where they started, and this is where they are, and this is where they want to go. So let's not discuss the issue of debt. What we have is a promise.
But those are political arguments being made fronted by leading politicians of the region, being in a position to back someone come 2022. It's not just a discussion we're having in this studio, is it?
Abubakar, I agree with him. By the way, I think we should not reduce Mount Kenya into the question of dates and promises. In a public arena of politics, things are said.
All right.
And let me put it this way. People who say kumi yangu, what is it? Was it ever said anyway? But if that was said,
it was.
let me say this. Yeah. Do we remember Kibaki Tosha? Is it also a promise that was made that Kibaki Tosha? Is that also a debt?
As a person.
Secondly,
Kibaki Tosha, then Mimi Tosha.
No, that's semantics.
Yeah.
Secondly, did Odinga say, I will not until? And when we are saying promises, has a promise to be put in a certain grammatical sense to make order? No. So, I mean, let us move from the question of debt by settling it that way. Mount Kenya people are greater than promises of politics made, and they are greater than debt's question. But if that question of debt has to appear, then it must appear sequentially. And that is my stand.
Fair enough, Zack. Point made. Karungo,
yes,
your closing remarks?
Yes, I think what we need, because I think we have had a nice debate here today, I think what we need is to put our leaders into account. They must be accountable of what they say, what they do. Otherwise, if they say this today, tomorrow they change, that is conmanship. They were conning us to believe in them today, then once we give them what they require, tomorrow they change tune. And that's why we always say, we will change this narrative the moment we come up with a law that we have to put the leaders into account of what they say, word per word.
All right, Karungo Thang'wa is TSP, the Service Party's National Organizing Secretary. Zack Kinuthia is the CAS, Ministry of Sports. Gentlemen, thank you for your time. And just a reminder that for purposes of balance and fairness in this discussion and the many that we have had, we have always made sure that each side is equally represented often in this debate. That's why we had earlier on invited a Kiambu woman representative, Gathoni wa Mushomba, who did not come for the show. But just for purpose of clarity, we did reach out to her. Thanks for watching. That brings us to the end of tonight's edition of Pundits Night.